You are about to hear the story of a young drummer who is sent into the forest to discover the secret of the rain. Please enjoy Mustafa and the Storytelling Drum. Authored and illustrated by Ashby North. Music by Greg Paxton and narrated by Mark Spiegel.
The drought had burned the land so that the earth beneath the wilted crops was dry like dust and seeds would not grow. In desperation, the village chief called for the drummers of magic to sing, for the rains to come. All the best drummers came from all directions of the land and gathered at the village square. Then the village chief stepped forward and announced that there must be a drumming to be played and a song to be sung that should be so wise and so magical that the rains would come and the drought would end, that the rains would renew the land and full harvests could grow and his people could thrive again. So the drummers gathered and sang their songs night after night. They danced and shared poetry of many wise things, but still the rains did not come. A drummer apprentice named Mustafa sat at the feet of the wise old drummers as they played into the night with their drum. Soon the music lulled Mustafa into sleep, and he began to dream. In this dream, he saw an old woman who lived in the small forest nearby. She was like no one he had ever seen. She was dressed in leaves, and her hair seemed like twigs. She was sitting on the bend of a tree, or was she part of the tree? She was beckoning for him to follow her to a hut nearby. When he stepped into the hut, instead of seeing the old woman, he found only a drum. "Play for me, and I will sing a story for you," said the drum. Mustafa awoke to hear the drummers in the village square. The drummers gathered and sang their songs night after night. They danced and shared the poetry of many wise things, but still the rains did not come. Mustafa called out to the drummers. The old drummers turned to Mustafa, and Mustafa told them of his dream. He then asked, "What does it mean?" For a moment they seemed to ponder his dream. Then, with a twinkle in their eyes and laughter on their lips, they said, "It is a sign. You must follow the words of the old woman, for she is the forest spirit, and she has chosen you with her words. You must solve this riddle to learn her song. Then maybe you can sing to us, and we can sing it too, and then perhaps the rains will come. Go to the forest, Mustafa, and see what you can find." So Mustafa was sent on his way. The drummers gathered and sang their songs of the forest spirit with words of praise, and sang their songs night after night. They danced and shared the poetry of many wise things, but still the rains did not come. Mustafa, the next morning, alone on his way, gathered his small drum and ventured into the forest. Not knowing which way to go, he traveled this way and that the length of the forest. But there was no old woman, as in his dream. He stood not knowing what to do. But then, for moments, he heard her whisper in the voice of the forest spirit, "Play for me, and I will sing a story for you." The voice came from all around, but there was no old woman in sight, yet it seemed to echo throughout the forest, from out of the ground, from high in the trees, from the rippling streams. Mustafa was lost in a daze. How could he drum to all of these things? Yet quietly he walked and tapped on his drum with a pum-diddy-pum. As he walked and looked at all the tall trees swaying with their rustling leaves, he heard soft drips of dew fall from the canopy of the forest that made melodious sounds. It's like a marimba, he thought. Mustafa played along with these sounds with his own drum. He saw how the tree canopy blocked the heat of the sun so that dancing streams might run through the forest, safe from drying up in the sun's rays. To a babbling brook, Mustafa played, tuning himself to nature's way. So quietly he walked and tapped on his drum with a pum-diddy-pum. That night he returned to the drummers of magic with his own drum. He played for them, and as his drum chanted a rhythm, he sung the story of the Forest of Shade, where waters were protected and streams were made. The drummers smiled at what they had just learned and sang to the forest with a word of praise that their music might bring the rain. So the drummers gathered and sang their songs night after night. They danced and shared poetry of many wise things, but still the rains did not come. When the rains did not come, the drummers sent Mustafa again into the forest, for clearly there was something he had not found. So Mustafa wandered throughout the trees. What was it he missed? What did he not see? Then he thought of how it had been forgotten, because the people had made the mistake to think that nature was to be turned into everything they make, then to let nature replenish and fill their needs. Mustafa wondered why they could not see. "Play for me, and I will sing a story for you," said the voice of the wood. But Mustafa fell silent with sadness. He did not know how to start. Then he heard the voice behind him. When he turned, there was the old woman, the one from his dream. She was surrounded with gourds filled with small sapling trees, but he was not afraid. Strangely, it seemed that he had known her before. So quietly he drew near and tapped on his drum with a pum-diddy-pum. "You are looking for a secret to be found in the forest, Mustafa, and now you will have it. Listen first to the beat of your heart, then to the rhythm of your drum. Does not the earth have a rhythm also? The earth produces good things for the people, like these trees that bring food for all living things. But the people do not take care of the sapling trees, so the trees do not live and grow. People take what they want from the earth, but they do not give good things back. So the rhythmic cycle of the earth is broken. The people have forgotten how to tell Earth's story and sing Earth's song. So you must do this for them, Mustafa. And for them, you must be strong." But instead, Mustafa felt sad. What could he say? What could he do? He had only a drum, his hands, and the truth. Sadly he walked and tapped on his drum with a pum-diddy-pum, and he thought of how the drummers gathered and sang their songs night after night, how they danced and shared poetry of many wise things, but still the rains did not come. Then the old woman raised her voice. "Your drum beats a song of the rhythms of the earth. Tell the people they need to live these rhythms and live them well. Here are many gourds full of sapling trees. If the people take these and plant them with earth's rhythm and care, the winds will take the message to the clouds, and the earth will smile. If you let others know the story of planting these trees with your drum, then perhaps the rains will come." Mustafa looked up with hope in his eyes and began to quickly tap his drum with a pum-diddy-pum. "Now," she said, "put your hand on your heart. What do you hear?" Mustafa did, and was startled to find a beat like his drum, with a voice that said, "Play for me, and I will sing a story for you." With wonder he gazed at the old woman, the forest spirit, for now he remembered. Now he understood. Mustafa realized that he was of the earth's story, and the earth's story was inside him. Mustafa ran to the village, calling to the drummers of magic and everyone he met. Then, as all the people gathered around, Mustafa's fingers began tapping the skin of his drum with a pum-diddy-pum, so that it rumbled like thunder. And thunder did come. The rhythms of his hands poured in rolls of percussion as Mustafa's hands blazed in motion. With his heart racing inside, he gave out a cry, and then he started to sing from the earth within. In answer, the earth drummed up a furious wind. The drummer sang along with the story of his song, and then the rains did come.
This has been Mustafa and the Storytelling Drum, authored and illustrated by Ashby North, music by Greg Paxton, narrated by Mark Spiegel, and I'm Peggy Dammond Priestley.